Hey everybody, this is Noah Sargent. I was one of Bud Buschardt's students about 10 years ago, and I just heard of his passing, and I wanted to give his family and friends condolences. Bud was an awesome professor, an awesome friend, and teacher. There's three things that I wanted to remember him by, and I also wanted to tell you a few stories about him, so hopefully I can make it through without crying, and I can also remember him in a positive way. The first thing I remember about Bud is how he invested into his students like me. Bud volunteered his time separate than his teaching requirements, and he spent dozens, if not hundreds of hours with me in the studio, and that was outside of class. I was one of those kids, for some reason was a go-getter and really wanted to be a part of NTTV, and I have a lot of great friends and colleagues from that now. And I was able to find some pictures from about 10 years ago of Bud volunteering and helping out on a little show called Taboo Topics. So I wanted to show you those pictures now. This is Bud and myself prepping for this shoot, and so we are in the studio. I know it's not the best picture because, again, it's on phones from 10 years ago, but it's kind of a fun memory of Bud in the studio. This is us with Darren, Croft, Corey, and Bud all preparing for a multi-camera show that we had going on, and this was a music show. Here's us with the crew, and somehow, some way, Bud shows up in all of these pictures, which is awesome. Obviously, I hand selected these from the dozens that I had. It's really cool to see Bud just attentive in there. And he was also there for times of question, things that we didn't know about or things we were curious about. Bud would talk your ear off and be totally open with his awesome knowledge. What was cool about Bud was his mindset and his attitude towards learning. There was another time where we weren't in studio and we were working on a show called Haley's Foodie Call, which was a Jim Brooks show that he produced and I helped with. One of the things on that shoot that I learned from Bud. So we're on location, we're at somebody's house. It's a cooking show, so it's cooking in the kitchen. After we shoot the first segment, we take the SD cards or the CF cards at the time and we start backing them up onto hard drives. Now, in today's digital world, that's not something crazy or something new, but at the time that was pretty new, and it was actually new for Bud. And I remember him distinctly saying that, wow, this is super cool that you can just download that from an SD card directly onto a hard drive without capturing tape and that kind of stuff. Bud said, wow, I learned something new today. This is awesome. So I just remember that Bud had this amazing mindset that I want to try to keep today and instill today. And that's kind of having that always learning attitude and always learning mindset. And that's something I definitely learned from Bud. Another great thing was one of his phrases, which was KISS, so keep it simple, stupid. And it's one of those great phrases which definitely still rings true in my mind and something I will remember him by. I have a few more pictures to show you. This is us in the studio looking at lighting and getting it set up for that same show, and just talking with the other faculty and the other students there before the event. This is Chase Huddleston back in the day. And Bud's there supervising, making sure we're not getting into too much trouble and keeping us safe. Here's us in the control room on the second season of Taboo Topics. There's me directing with Laura and Lauren. We have Addison Day in the background, and then of course Bud over on the side. The reverse shot of that is Bud. I think they're working on either the script or working with Addison on the microphone for some reason there. That's a fun photo that we have. I also have a great photo of Bud with Phyllis here. I believe this was for NTTV's Rush Night, where we had all of our new students come in and get acquainted with the staff and the different people from NTTV. So Bud was an investor, and he invested into the students and their future. Bud had an attitude of always learning, and the best thing about Bud was his heart. Bud was a cheerful, positive man, and Bud is only one of two professors that I had actually been to their house. I got to see Bud's record collection in all its glory, and he talked to me and a few of the other students that saw his collection in detail, talking about the different tracks and the A side and B side. There was one track that he had, Play That Funky Music, White Boy. I don't know why I remember this one specifically, but Bud had an early cut of this track, which had different lyrics on that track than what actually played in pop music, which was kind of crazy and kind of cool to think about. That's also an awesome memory that I had with Bud, and seeing the passion that he had for music and for radio. So Bud, thank you for pouring into my life, and you'll always be remembered.